Hi in this video we reviews the best OLED gaming monitors in 2024, deliver crazy speed and eye-popping HDR performance. It's been a long time coming, but OLED gaming monitors have now hit critical mass. When choosing the best OLED gaming monitor, there are now multiple models to choose from in several sizes and categories. What they all share are certain advantages over conventional LCD technologies. For starters, OLED gaming monitors are crazy fast. Quoted response times for monitors can be misleading, but OLED gaming monitors genuinely deliver pixel response measured in fractions of a millisecond. They're an order of magnitude faster than any LCD monitor, and that really makes a difference for gaming. Then there's lighting control. OLED panels control lighting on a full per pixel basis. There's no backlight, not clunky dimming zones, just perfect, essentially infinite contrast. Again, no backlit LCD panel can compete with that perfect control. Of course, OLED technology isn't perfect. Aside from being painfully pricey, OLED technology comes with several drawbacks. The first is the risk of burn-in or image retention. All of the latest OLED gaming monitors employ various mitigations to prevent burn-in. And thus far, they seem to be holding up well. But OLED monitors as a technology category are new enough that the really long-term outlook is unknown. The other obvious issue with OLED tech is limited full-screen brightness. OLED panels can hit high peak brightness numbers over small areas or patches of the screen, achieving 1000 nits or more. But lighting up the whole panel is more problematic. In particular, monitors based on LG-sourced OLED panels struggle the most with full-screen brightness, usually coming in under 200 nits, while those using Samsung's QD-OLED tech perform better, typically notching up around 250 nits. For now, all gaming monitors are based on either LG or Samsung OLED panels. One other area where even the best OLED gaming monitors can't ultimately keep up with LCD tech is refresh rate. Currently, the fastest OLED panels top out at 240 Hz, while LCD monitors running at over 500 Hz can be had. In practice, 240 Hz will be plenty for most PC gamers, but if you want the absolute ultimate in low-latency gaming, LCD retains a clear edge. Number 1. ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG27AQDM Gaming Monitor. The ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG27AQDM is a 27-inch, 1440p gaming monitor. Along with the Corsair Xenion 27Q HD240, it's the main competitor to the LG 27GR95Q EB, as all three monitors use the same OLED panel with a 240 Hz refresh rate. It features FreeSync variable refresh rate support, with GSANC compatibility, so it can reduce screen tearing with any type of graphics card. The ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG27AQDM is a 240 Hz monitor, though only over DisplayPort, and offers support for Adaptive Sync, AMD FreeSync, and NVIDIA G-Sync. It provides smooth, stutter-free motion in a wide range of situations, and with most graphics hardware currently on the market. A handful of 360 Hz and 500 Hz monitors are now available, such as the Acer XB273UF and Alienware AW2524H, and they feel a tad smoother in real-world use. Still, the PG27AQDM is a real treat to see in motion. It helps that the PG27AQDM, like most OLED monitors, has an extremely fast pixel response time. That means pixels can quickly transition between colors when needed, which reduces blur and provides excellent clarity. Fast-moving objects are well-defined with nearly all details visible. Test images from League of Legends show that character silhouettes, names, and health bars are visible, though the individual tick marks within each health bar remain hard to make out. Motion clarity is better than QD OLED monitors with a lower refresh rate, such as the Alienware AW3423DWF, and a tad better than a 240 Hz IPS monitor, such as the Gigabyte M27QX. Low pixel response times also improve motion clarity across a wide range of refresh rates, so motion continues to look rather crisp down to, and a bit below, 120 Hz. This versatility is important because you won't see the full benefits provided by a high refresh rate if the game you are playing can't achieve a similar frame rate, and even high-end gaming PCs will struggle to play many titles at up to 240 frames per second. Fortunately, the PG27AQDM remains enjoyable even when frame rates take a dive towards the double digits. Number 2. The best ultra-wide OLED gaming monitor, Samsung Odyssey G93SC series, OLED curved gaming monitor. Another day, another bleeding-edge, megabucks OLED monitor? Yep, but suck it up gaming freaks and behold the Samsung Odyssey OLED G93SC, all 49 inches of it. What we're dealing with here is an OLED monitor, using the same Samsung QD-OLED panel tech that we've seen previously on both Alienware's 34-inch models, including the Alienware 34AW3423DWF and the Philips Ednia 34M2C8600. It's just the panel is even wider at 32:9 aspect rather than 21:9. You get the same pixel density, the same 1440 vertical pixels, but the horizontal resolution has been broadened out to 5120 pixels. Consequently, this new OLED panel is exactly the same size and resolution as Samsung's previous Odyssey G9 monitors, based on LCD rather than OLED panels. So, the form factor is familiar, albeit the 1800R curve is less extreme than the 1000R of previous G9 panels. But for image quality, this OLED take on the ultra-wide thing totally blows those older G9 panels away. For refresh, you get 240 Hz and the response time is rated at 0.03 milliseconds, just like other QD OLED monitors. Full screen brightness is rated 250 nits, which again is identical to every other QD OLED-based monitor we've seen. Slightly frustratingly, Samsung doesn't quote maximum HDR brightness, although the panel is Display HDR True Black 400. For connectivity, you get DisplayPort, HDMI and Mini HDMI, plus a USB hub with USB-C a USB-C interface. Note that the USB-C socket is only for the hub, it isn't a display interface and doesn't have power delivery either, which is a pity and something you might expect to have been thrown in on this class and price of monitor. On the build and engineering side of things, well, this monitor is simply gorgeous. It looks ultra-modern and minimalist and feels very nicely put together. The OLED panel tech also means that the panel enclosure can be super thin. Anyway, the main story here is what this monitor is like to game on, and here the news is almost all very good indeed. Indeed, it looks exactly like Alienware 34AW3423DWF and the Philips Ednia 34M2C8600, just on a larger scale. And, yes, that includes the glossy panel coating, which does wonders for contrast. This thing looks at least pretty punchy all the time, which is not something you can say about OLED monitors with LG OLED panels. Where LG panels dip pretty dramatically when you light up most or all of the panel, there's almost no visible ABL or automatic brightness limiter nonsense to put up with on this Samsung monitor. And, if anything, it looks brighter than 250 nits full screen. That's a real boon for non-gaming applications. Suffering the brightness bouncing around on the desktop, when you open and close browser windows on those LG OLED monitors is pretty distracting. But there's none of that on this panel. Of course, to that you can add perfect per pixel lighting control and a lot more than 250 nits brightness in HDR highlights. Put simply, this is the experience that the hype around HDR has long promised but hitherto failed to deliver. Of course, with 240 Hz refresh and 0.03 milliseconds response, this monitor is silly quick, too. So, yeah, this is a pretty exceptional gaming experience overall. If we do have doubts, well, they come down to the extreme 32:9 form factor and concerns over Samsung's QD OLED panel tech and burn-in. Number 3. Alienware 55 OLED Gaming Monitor. The Alienware AW5520QF features unmatched contrast in color. But it's missing things that should be included for the price. It's clearly better than gaming on a TV, but you'll have to pay more than double that of a similar-sized OLED TV. The AW5520QF delivers the best image and best gaming experience of any monitor we've ever reviewed. This is based on two things that OLED does better than LCD: contrast and motion processing. The games universe is so much more real than anything an LCD monitor can muster. And with completely blur-free motion available, it truly feels as though you're in the game, not just looking through a window. OLEDs are well known for their incredibly deep blacks. You'll see in our tests that the panel's black levels are so low that they can't be measured. That means contrast is not just a little better than the best LCD display, it's an order of magnitude better. Place the AW5520QF next to any LCD monitor, and you'll see the difference immediately. Second, motion processing is an entirely different thing in the OLED world. Where LCDs sample each frame and hold it on the screen until the next frame is drawn, OLEDs flash the image thousands of times per second. That's like the effect of an LCD's backlight strobe, also known as blur reduction, ultra-low motion blur, but much faster. The result is no blur whatsoever. There are smooth LCDs for sure, but they won't compare to an OLED. We could see the impact of the AW5520QF's high contrast even when viewing the Windows desktop. Our background is a beach scene with a blue sky and the ocean stretching out to the horizon. Its depth and clarity were mesmerizing on the OLED monitor. App windows rendered with extreme sharpness. We could clearly read black text on a white background from across the room. The screen uses a grid polarizer to prevent light spread between pixels like an LCD does, but it's much thinner and has less impact on resolution. Pixelation? Invisible. Though pixel density is just 80 pixels per inch, ppi, you'd swear it was 180 ppi because the pixel gaps are much smaller than those of an LCD panel. Number 4. Corsair Xenion 27-inch OLED gaming monitor. The Corsair Xenion 27QHD240 is incredible for gaming. Its 240Hz refresh rate is great for competitive gaming, and it has VRR support that works with any source to reduce screen tearing. Motion looks smooth no matter the refresh rate you're gaming at, and it has low input lag at high refresh rates, but it increases with lower refresh rates. On the plus side, it displays deep and inky blacks without blooming, making it a great choice in darkrooms. Anecdotal testing with Cyberpunk 2077 and Counter-Strike: Global Offensive proved enjoyable, and I noticed no screen tearing, even with the refresh rate up to 240 Hz. Console gaming will benefit from the high refresh rate as well, as many console games now offer variable refresh rates that give gamers even more video options, while the clarity of the OLED panel offsets any loss in resolution. Corsair advertises a gray-to-gray response time of 0.03 milliseconds, but the company incorrectly notes it as input lag, which is not the same thing. GTG measures how long it takes for a pixel to go from one gray level to the next, while input lag measures the time it takes for the monitor to display a received signal. GTG is not a standard metric because vendors measure levels differently, so it's not one of the measurements we take during reviews. Overall, I had no issues with the Corsair in my testing. It's a monitor that matches well with high-end hardware, in addition to middle-of-the-road PC builds, and the ports add plenty of options for using multiple devices. It may be too small for some, but for my personal office, a 27-inch OLED is a match made in heaven. Number 5. LG 45-foot UltraGear OLED Curved Gaming Monitor. The LG 45GR95QEB is fantastic for gaming. Its 240Hz refresh rate is ideal for gaming at a high frame rate, and it also has FreeSync VRR support and GSANC compatibility to reduce screen tearing. Gaming feels responsive thanks to its low input lag, and it has a fast response time with most signals. Its OLED panel also delivers perfect blacks, which is great for darkroom gaming. Overall, it's hard for a properly manufactured and adjusted OLED monitor to look bad, based on the ones we've seen. The 45 UltraGear doesn't buck the trend, but we should consider one final stat: a gaming monitor's input lag. Using an HD Fury Diva HDMI matrix, we measured the LG's lag at 1.4 milliseconds, an excellent showing from the ultra-wide OLED. While the display doesn't have the absolute lowest lag we've measured, it comes pretty close. Plus, hardcore gamers will appreciate the 240Hz refresh rate. It's worth noting that while LG advertises a gray-to-gray response time of 0.03 milliseconds, that's not the same thing as input lag. GTG means how long it takes for a pixel to go from one gray level to the next, while input lag measures the time it takes for the monitor to display a received signal. GTG is not a standard metric because vendors measure levels differently, so it's not one of the measurements we take during reviews. The huge 21:9 aspect ratio display makes movie watching an event, but gaming is almost surely the reason you'll splurge on the UltraGear. Rest assured that whether you're cranking up the frame rate in Counter-Strike, Global Offensive or touring Spain in Terror with Resident Evil 4, the action on the screen is sure to be a delight.